Okay, good afternoon, everybody. It's been quite an eventful day for me on a personal level, but what better way to finish the day at the premier event in the annual calendar, and also speaking about 5G, so I'm going to cover off that topic over the next 15 minutes. For many consumers, in fact, possibly even some mobile operators across the globe, 5G is just another and potentially unwelcome G. But for Three in the UK, it's a massive opportunity to deliver improved customer experience and grow shareholder value. By way of context, the UK was the only country in Europe, if not the world, where the original spectrum that was allocated for 2G was liberalised for 4G solely in the hands of the incumbents. As Three UK was not in the market when that 2G spectrum was initially allocated, we were immediately at a disadvantage on 4G. Since then, we've managed to acquire some extra 4G spectrum, and we've worked hard to optimize our 4G assets. But more importantly, we've spent the last few years getting ourselves into a position where we compete strongly again on the next generation of technology. To do that, we've been focusing on the three key elements that are needed for a market-leading 5G service: spectrum, the radio access network, and the core network, including backhaul transmission. Alongside all of that, over the past 3 years, we've been completely rebuilding our IT systems to remove the legacy spaghetti of technology and, in simple terms, become a more modern digital business, one that will be flexible and quick to respond to the ever-changing needs of customers, as well as the new opportunity that arise from new technology. If I can first focus in on spectrum, you can see that our spectrum position over the last few years has transformed, having gone from less than 10% share of overall spectrum to having the most spectrum in the market with a 30% share. And the majority of that spectrum is in bands that are the initial standards for 5G technology. If I translate that into what it means in the real world, with 9% share of spectrum, it means that we could never have achieved network leadership no matter how much money we spent on the network. But with a leading share of spectrum now, absolutely we can achieve network leadership, and that is what we intend to do. Having spent what seems like quite a long time on the back foot, this slide always brings a smile to my face, and we are in an incredible position. To fully take advantage of the optimum 5G experience, the ITU notes that 100 megahertz of contiguous spectrum is needed. Three in the UK is the only operator who can do that. In simple terms, more spectrum equals more capacity and faster speeds. Overall, a better customer experience, and from an operator perspective, a lower cost per gigabyte of traffic. Of course, there is another spectrum auction coming, and there is the potential to use spectrum that is currently used for 4G for 5G. But even if our lead is narrowed, we are dramatically more competitive than we have ever been at any point in our history. More capacity and utilization of that capacity potentially means more cost, but we've worked hard to de-link traffic growth from cost growth. This is critical not just for mobile customers and mobile usage, but also as we target home broadband customers using 5G technology. There are two key elements to breaking that historically linear link between capacity and cost. We're rapidly moving our transmission to dark fiber, and we have built a world-first cloud core network with Nokia. Our new cloud core network has lots of bells and whistles, as you might expect, including faster upgrades, more functionality like network slicing, and greater resiliency. But the one I want to emphasize today is the cost efficiency. To add more capacity to our new core network is 98% cheaper than it was under our old core network, which fundamentally provides us with a cost-effective platform to offer unlimited data, not just for our mobile customers, but also our home broadband customers too. So I've covered our spectrum, our core and transmission assets. The next thing I want to talk about is our radio network and what we need to achieve for success across mobile, home, and enterprise. Our 5G radio network plan is led by the needs of our mobile customers. So our first priority is to chase the mobile traffic to provide more capacity and faster speeds in the parts of the country where current demand is the highest. 80% of our mobile traffic today comes from approximately 40% of our sites, and we are confident that we can upgrade all of those sites to 5G before the end of next year. Broadly, that is the red and the brown and the yellow part of the map you can see. Once we have 5G on all of those sites, an immediate consequence is we have a lot more capacity than we immediately need for our mobile customers, which means we have spare capacity to sell home broadband in those areas as well. In addition to the mobile-led approach, we're looking at a home-led approach for the remaining 60% of our sites. We launched 5G and a home broadband product in central London in August last year, and we have learnt a lot, and enough to suggest that there is a strong business case for a more rapid geographical rollout of 5G to compete with ultra-fast fixed broadband. It's also worth noting that we're strengthening our 4G network across the whole country by redeploying spectrum currently allocated for 3G to 4G, as well as deploying more 4G spectrum that we acquired in a public sale outside of the normal auction process. So let's quickly talk about home broadband. Since we launched our 5G home broadband service in August last year, without much promotion, we've seen almost 750,000 postcode checks for availability from all across the country. I believe the product has broad appeal. And in a world where fibre to the home is not yet widely rolled out, and even when it is, 5G home broadband should have a sustainable cost advantage in many parts of the country. And as a result, this is a significant incremental opportunity for the business with no risk of cannibalizing existing revenue streams. In terms of performance, we're seeing headline speeds of over a gigabit per second, but perhaps more importantly, average speeds of over 200 megabits per second are more than sufficient for the majority of users. And it's not just the speed our customers are happy about. It's the convenience of plug-and-play solution that is infinitely more flexible than a fixed solution. In London specifically, where we've been targeting our advertising, we've seen an improvement in brand consideration by over 43% over the course of 2019. Beyond mobile and home broadband, the enterprise segment is hugely exciting. In fact, in many countries, it is often the enterprise opportunity that is grabbing the headlines. There are a number of projects in the UK that we're working on, but also our sister companies across Europe, where we're trialing new innovation in enterprise. One example I can reference in 3 is we've been successful in bidding for funding of part of the West Mercia Rural 5G project to trial the use of 5G for provision of healthcare and to older people in rural areas. This is part of the latest round of the UK government's 5G testbed and trials programme. Another of these projects is at the port of Felixstowe, which is the UK's busiest container port, with 42% of the UK's container traffic going through that port. 3 already provides a managed private 4G network for the port-wide connectivity of its systems, connecting cranes, stackers, and lorries for operational management, and the network is already integral to the working of the port. Currently, we're working with Felixstowe on the port of the future, which will include enabling autonomous and remote control equipment using 5G. Those systems include video and safety features, which require lower latency and higher capacity, which of course 5G offers. Using 5G not only will save the port money, but it reduces disruption versus other technology solutions. And finally, I want to mention our new partnership with Chelsea. I'm a Bury fan, or I was a Bury fan until my club unfortunately went into liquidation earlier in the year. So as a free agent, I'm open to suggestions, but clearly a strong allegiance now with Chelsea and a partnership where we've agreed to be the official shirt sponsor and telecommunications partner starting from the 1st of July. With so many exciting things for us to talk about as a business, it is a perfect platform to elevate the visibility of our brand, but it is more than just renting a square on the front of a high-profile shirt. Ourselves and Chelsea are very excited about making Stamford Bridge the best connected stadium in the UK and making it a showcase for 5G. We've probably all experienced the capacity limitations of 4G when it comes to a full sports stadium or a music festival. And although it's not a common occurrence, it's often the time when you most want access to data, to share the great picture, or even just to catch up on the halftime scores. This is one area where 5G really raises the bar on previous technologies, and over time, beyond pure capacity, there are some very exciting services we are looking to showcase at Stamford Bridge. I'm also very excited that the partnership covers not just the men's team, but the women's, the academy, and esports. So there are many opportunities to activate that agreement. So, in summary, 5G isn't just another G and shouldn't be dismissed or delayed. It will disrupt and customers will win. The 4G era was a challenge for us, but we still managed to grow because 4G was an evolution, not a revolution. 5G is a game changer, and I believe we are very well prepared to take a leadership position, to grow in existing and new segments, and enhance our business value despite the increased investment that's needed. Thank you.
Thanks very much, David, and thanks for being with us on what must have been a very, very busy day for you.
Yes.
There's been quite a lot of talk during the course of today on the sort of macro goals the government has on sustainability.
Yep.
And trying to understand what that might mean for different segments of our industry. I noted this week there's a documentary going up on the BBC about the environmental impact of streaming versus traditional broadcasting.
Right.
In as much as it's believed in some quarters that it is significantly more, has more impact to stream bits of content individually than it is just to broadcast in the conventional way. I mean, you talked a lot about 5G. Is 5G, in your estimation, a cleaner technology?
It definitely is. You know, talk about streaming, I think potentially with 5G streaming is a thing of the past. I think people will be able to download things so quickly that the need to stream things and draw things down at a steady rate maybe disappears. It could be more efficient. But I think for the industry, there's lots of room for improvement in terms of sustainability. We haven't yet put a target out there in terms of when we'll be carbon neutral, but in the meantime, we are doing things progressively that make sense. We've just signed an agreement with Scottish Power for renewable energy, so bit by bit we're trying to do the right thing and trying to focus on where we can make improvements. Through MBNL, our shared network with BT EE, we're engaging with academics to understand how we can reduce power consumption and make the overall operation of the network a lot more efficient.
Because that'll be very interesting as you broadband into the home.
Yeah.
It kind of replaces the main connection that currently exists through the traditional network.
Yes.
So I can see that being increasingly something that needs to be measurable and held accountable. If you just look at what we've been through with Heathrow and HS2 now, and there are some contradictions sitting above all of this, which will be interesting to unpick as the years roll by.
Yeah, and I think another big opportunity is just more sharing, and some of that is a challenge from a regulatory perspective, but certainly we've seen a very positive effect working with BT through MBNL in terms of sharing some infrastructure. I think there's more we can do as an industry, but I say there are some barriers in the way that we need to knock over.
Great. We've got time for a question from the floor, if anyone wants to. Kate.
Hi, Kate Bulkley. We've heard a lot about pricing. For instance, the lady from TalkTalk was saying that she wants to give affordable broadband and an affordable service. Talk a little bit about pricing, because is there a price war coming? Because, for example, you say your proposition's different. You know, we've got what's happening in EE and BT, we've got TalkTalk. So is there some kind of a price war that's on the frontier, and what is that going to mean for consumers as you all try to differentiate?
I think the pricing in the UK is already very competitive. You know, we need to set ourselves up as a business where we've got the right cost structure that allows us to make a return on the investment that we put in. 5G for us right now is the most efficient way of delivering more capacity into the market. So that means we can continue to be competitive and give good value to our customers. You know, we don't set the price, the price is set by the market and we'll react to that. So I wouldn't necessarily predict a price war, but I would predict continued intense competition between all of the operators.
Well, David, next time you're here, you may not be representing your current organisation, but we're really pleased that you came here today on a busy day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.